You're listening to a Frequency Podcast Network production.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Welcome to Christmas.
Happy Christmas. Nobody says Happy Christmas. What am I talking? Merry Christmas.
I feel like people in the UK say Happy Christmas.
Is that a thing?
I think that's a thing out there.
It just sounds weird.
Happy Christmas, love.
Happy Christmas.
Is a Happy Christmas in it?
Well, see, that's the thing. It sounds like they're not pronouncing the H, but really they're actually talking about appetizer Christmas, which is what I have planned for today, and I'm very excited for.
I know we're recording this in advance, but is that your plans? Just hanging out at home?
Yeah. Mallory's got some friends, family. I don't know if I said friends, like her parents and her sister. Family that are coming in, and we're going to just hang out. It's going to be great. And the nice thing is, and I'm not saying this because I don't like her family. They're really nice people. But they are all got their own Airbnb booked. So at the end of the day...
That's beautiful.
You still have that separation of like, I have my house to myself for like 20 minutes before I go to bed.
Well, that's the toughest part about the holidays, especially when you're dating someone. Like, there's a 50-50 chance you're going to like the family.
Yeah.
Right?
Honestly, I've been lucky so far. Like, when I was married to Nicole, like, I still get along very well with her family. And now with Mallory's family, they're very lovely people. But yeah, I've definitely seen some like nightmare scenarios with friends and stuff like that where they get into relationships and they are absolutely in love with their significant other.
Yeah.
But every holiday is just we don't have to go to your house this year.
We're going to Listowel to go see my mom, and then we're going to my dad's in Wasaga with him and my stepmom there.
Right, yep.
And I will say, like, the first few Christmases when my dad was dating Julie, I just remember I fucking hated it. I was...
Really?
You know, like... I don't know, I was a teenager. I was like 16 when they started dating, so I was trying to find any reason to hate her. I was like, I hate her family, I hate her kids, I hate their dogs.
Oh, not the dogs.
Like, you're just like sitting there and you're like, I hate everyone here. Like,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden someone gives you $50 and you're like, that person's all right.
She turned you around real
She's got like a rich aunt that comes around and is like, dude, I've legit probably met this lady like 6 times in my life, but every Christmas she gives me $50 and I'm like, dude, you might be my favorite aunt and we're not even blood related.
That's amazing. It's funny to think like with the kids because, we've done a fair amount of traveling, but again, most of our family is based out like the prairies, BC, or the Northwest Territories. So there's family that my kids have never even met that they still get like Christmas cards or Christmas presents or maybe like an e-transfer from every year. I'm just like, God, ride that out for as long as you can.
Man, I don't get any of that stuff. I remember, I think it was when I turned 19 and I was in college, I got a Christmas card and it had, my grandparents would just give me like, like 25 bucks.
Sure.
And it said in the card, this is the last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they capped me off at 19. And then after that, I remember I would get a card from my grandparents up until about, I think, a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And it would just be a card that said Merry Christmas. And I was like, why even send the card?
No money in it or nothing?
Like, I love both of them, but man, like, what the fuck?
Does it make it better or worse to get that notice of like... You're basically being evicted from Christmas.
Yeah, it's like a grow up kind of thing.
Yeah, like I feel like I would almost rather it just happen and be like, oh, I didn't get a present from my grandma this year, instead of being like, hey, this is it.
It's like, you guys are retired. What the fuck are you doing with all your money?
Wait, you can't take it with you. Dude, grandparents give the most interesting gifts. I remember for a long time when I was like just out of college, just in like working, and I wasn't making a lot of money. You never do when you're getting into radio.
Oh, for sure.
But my grandmother, who lived in Perth at the time here in Ontario, would send me a parcel every year for my birthday. And every year it was the same thing. It was a pair of shoes, which was huge because I have size 15 feet and they were hard to come by and hard to afford. So she would take care of that. And then I was a smoker and she would buy me a carton of cigarettes. I remember there was a good 4-year span where I got a carton of cigarettes every year on my birthday and for Christmas. And I was like, this gravy train's never going to end.
You're either like the most favorite grandchild or the least favorite grandchild. She's just trying to kill you slowly.
It's just like, how do we get rid of him?
Yeah.
Keep sending him king-size cigarettes?
Yeah, I feel like my grandparents always just got us CDs, but the weirdest thing that I ever got from my grandparents, I mean, I talked about my mom giving me the condoms and the stockings the other day.
That's
on the show.
right, yeah.
My grandpa, it wasn't Christmas related. I just remember I was like 16, 17, and I had started dating this girl, and I went up to go visit my grandparents, and I came out of the bathroom, and I look, and my grandpa, he's like, hey, come here, like waves me over to his room. Dude, opens his bedside dresser. This guy's like drawer was just filled with rubbers. Like he must have had like 40 condoms in there.
Like when you take your kids to the dentist and they open up the like treasure chest of toys, but it's just condoms.
Buddy was like 70 at the time too, so I was like, I'm pretty sure none of this works. I know my grandma went through menopause. Never heard her. I always heard her like talking about it.
That's right. They have an expiry date. Like when it's like these are not as effective, you shouldn't use them anymore.
My prepare, he just starts handing me like wads of condoms. Like some of them were still like all connected, some of them loosies. And he's just like, go put these in your bag. He gave me like 20 condoms or whatever to take. He still kept some for himself, which I thought was hilarious.
Hey, listen, never leave yourself empty, all right?
Then I remember getting like back to my place and I was like hanging out with this girl and I was like, hey, look at what my grandpa gave me.
Yeah.
We were laughing about it. And she starts like running through them and she's like, all of these are expired.
Not one was still good?
Yeah, this is like 2012. They're all like expired in like 08, 09.
So not even like this is recent. He's been sitting in this drawer.
I don't know if my grandpa just had like high hopes for a long time and kept buying them. It's like buying a lottery ticket. You're like, there's got to be a chance.
Hey, you can't win if you don't play, right?
The weirdest part is I remember he had gave me a little box and I didn't look at it.
Okay.
And it was, you know, if you go to Shoppers Drug Mart and you look at like the condom section, there's like the lubes are all there.
Sure, yeah.
And then there's like those little finger ticklers.
That's the little toys.
The ones that vibrate. He gave me one of those, and it was a box of 3, and there was only one in them, and it was just like the mental image of like, oh no, not my mare, not my mare.
You're 2 fingers short, brother.
And the thing is every time that I would see my grandpa until he died and I'd shake his hand, he had like sausage fingers.
Sure.
I was like, there's no way that thing fit on there. There's no way, dude.
A haunting memory every time you see him in his hands.
He had a tremor too, so I was like, dude, imagine the work he put in there. Dude was putting on a clinic.
I remember that was the thing when I got diagnosed, because I have a tremor myself. I have shaky hands.
Yeah.
And I remember when I got like diagnosed and I was like still in high school, I was telling you, I was like, yeah, I guess I have a tremor.
This is gonna love that.
Oh my God. Every guy in school made the same joke about like, oh, you're a human vibrator. I'm like, I don't think it works that way. I don't think I have the power to control it. Didn't suddenly become an outboard motor over
Did it
here.
make solo missions a little quicker? Or?
I mean, I don't know. I've always had this as long as I can remember. It's all I've ever known. I've never known the still hand. So wait, you got 1 out of the 3. Did you use it?
No, fuck no, dude. I remember like turning it on. Maybe suggested it. I think it was a hard no. But.
I just feel like if you're already thinking about him when you're shaking hands, you can't then strap that thing to your finger and be like, this one's for you, prepare.
I should have kept it, honestly, because like he passed away this year. It would have been nice to bust out and been like
a tribute.
Yeah, one for the homie. Yeah.
You could have gone and like tucked it into the casket. Like, you take this one with you. Send it back where it came from.
Give it back to my grandma.
They're lowering.
He gave this to me, but I think you'd probably want to have it.
Something to remember him.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
That would have been her stocking stuffer.
Oh, God. Come down Christmas morning, the stocking hung by the fireplace is just going... I don't think you should open that, Grandma.
I mean, it's a terrible thought thinking of your grandparents having sex, but I mean, it happened. Like, how did we all get here?
Oh, 100%, right? I mean, that's just it. You can look around and however many of you and your siblings there are, that's how many times minimum it's happened.
What? The kids are what, 10 and 8?
Yeah. It's 10 and a half, 8 and a half. They're about that halfway mark.
Have
now.
you had the talk yet, or have you prepared yourself for the talk? Or?
They're both still very well. Actually, no, they're not both. Alex is still very much like, oh, boys, gross, like all that stuff.
Sure.
In no rush to hurry them through that phase. Marcus has been married a couple times. Marcus has had numerous girlfriends. That's the 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Numerous girlfriends. At least two playground weddings where I like picked him up from school. He's like, I got married today.
So are you planning a talk for him? Because it sounds like homie's going to be getting into it.
I think we're going to have that chat sooner than later.
What's it play out in your mind? Like, how do you go through it? Do you do the birds and the bees? Because it's weird. Like, my old man never sat me down and really gave me, I don't know, a tutorial or like a manual, if you will.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like we watched a lot of movies, and I remember my mom pausing a movie one time and was like, so listen.
Now that you mention it, like I'm trying to think back to like the talk I would have had with my mom.
I don't even know. I've always heard the birds and the bees and like movies and stuff. I don't know what the actual stories is. Is it like birds and bees are hooking up? Is that what it is?
I don't know. I never got that talk either. Like I feel like it was a similar thing of just like me and my mom were in the same room at some point, and she was just like, hey, you're old enough to know about like condoms and stuff, right? And I was like, yeah, like I had a pretty good idea from, TV and stuff like that. Like, okay, yeah, just, don't fuck around. Just make sure you're using that stuff.
I just remember watching Law and Order one time, and it was SVU, so that's like the fucked up one.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom once again like pausing the DVR and being like, so some people are into weird stuff. Other people not so much, because it was like some guy that was doing like bondage stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like, what one person like isn't what everybody likes. Keep that in mind, okay?
I can honestly say, I'm sketchy on the details of the conversation my mom and I had, but I do know we never had the kink talk. We never went down that avenue.
It was basically like, ask permission.
Yeah. Well, listen, consent is really important, and that's good that she had that.
It's crazy that my talk was during SVU, but have you mapped it out? Do you have a game plan? Like, what's the strategy?
Not even a little bit.
Because it's going to happen probably at least in the next year.
100%. I'm sort of letting the innocence of youth ride right now. Like I said, like when he talks about like, oh, I have a girlfriend, or oh, I got married, or I did find out that like during one of the weddings, him and his bride kissed each other to like, you may kiss the bride for the wedding. Yeah. And so he's had his first kiss apparently. So I remember being like, okay, well, like, you don't really have a girlfriend. There's a whole lot of legal stuff involved to actually getting married. But, you just make sure you're never doing anything that makes other people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's the conversations we've had of like respecting people's space, making sure that it's mutual.
But are you going to do like when a man loves a woman, or are you going to just go like when it feels right, it feels right?
Are people actually having conversations with their kids of like, so you have penis, she has vagina, you match together? Like, I don't know if that's an actual conversation, or if parents are just being like, Channel 14 will tell you pretty much everything you need to know.
Because I went to a Catholic school, so when we started going through sex ed, it was just basically, if you do this before marriage, it's bad.
You're going to burn in hell.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it was sex, if it was masturbating, whatever, it was like, God's always watching, and you were like, why?
Yeah.
Why is he always watching? Like,
it was a stark contrast. I was in a Catholic school in grade 4 and a public school in grade 5, and health class took a real fucking turn that year.
Dude, did you guys have the day when everyone could write their questions anonymously and like put them in the hat or whatever, and the teacher would read them in the class?
I don't remember that.
Our gym teacher, we did like 2 weeks of sex ed in grade 9 or grade 10.
I also love, you can tell the size of the town you grew up in when you say, my gym teacher did health. Like, you didn't have a health teacher.
No.
You had the guy, last week he taught us badminton, this week he's teaching us sex ed.
Yeah, next week we're doing dodgeball. But I remember someone, our buddy Marcus actually is who it was, he wrote down, he was like, if you pee inside of a girl, what happens? And I just remember our teacher like stopped down and he was like, who wrote this? And we're like, you're not supposed to ask.
Yeah, hey man, that's against the rules.
Like, why would you do this? And I was like, it's an honest question. Like, what does happen?
It's not in that scenario, but we've all been in a when you gotta go situation. So I don't think he should be judging.
We had this small little kid in our class, and he just, I don't know how to put this without being like super rude.
Right.
He just had like that aura of like serial killer in high school.
Okay, sure, yeah.
He was a short little guy.
Every
like,
class had at least one of those.
Had this mysterious kind of like aura to him.
Like, it's not that he ever did anything wrong, but you all had suspicions he could.
And he like, I don't know where he was from, but he had an accent. And he asked the teacher one time, he's like, if a lady is having your baby but you don't want the baby, is it okay to terminate the baby?
Jesus Christ.
He used
Holy
terminate.
shit.
Our teacher was like, are you talking about like an abortion? He's like, I guess.
Leave the door open, I guess.
I've always
right?
wondered where that kid is now.
What the fuck?
Terminated the baby.
Well, I assume that your teacher did the right thing and immediately put his name on a list of some sort and that he's been watched closely since then.
I'd love to find his Facebook. I can't remember what his name is. I'd just love to know if he has kids now. Like,
Did he ever follow through with it? Yeah. Terminate is such a... I mean, I get it. It's a term. But to say, like, I don't necessarily mean abort. I do mean terminate.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. I can't imagine being a teacher going into that class, man. That's got to be awkward as hell.
I just couldn't imagine being... I mean, I feel like teachers nowadays have it way harder than any other generation.
Well, you're also setting the tone for some kids. I mean, like... You know, a lot of us, it's like, it's playground talk, whatever you talk about your friends. But like, for say maybe this kid who's talking about terminating babies might not have anyone to talk about it with. And it's like everything he learns in that class is the knowledge he has until he goes to college or whatever.
That teacher's answer to his question about termination could have determined his whole path in life. You're right. Like, he had no one else to guide him. And based on your teacher's reaction... That's where you're going to like, okay, well, that's an authority figure, and now I will live my life according to this factual information.
The best was everybody would ask our teacher, because it was a Catholic school, would be like, did you wait until marriage until you had sex?
Oh, what was the answer?
And the answer would always be like, you should wait until... And it was like, bro, we know you played football at Laurier. There's no way. There's no way.
It's a 0% chance.
Yeah.
I love that, because, I mean, that's the thing, right? Hey, the Lord teaches us a lot of things, abstinence until marriage being one of them. But we also get taught a lot about forgiveness, right? So if you got to go, you got to go.
You ever think that Joseph, like Mary and Joseph, you think like when Joseph got back to Bethlehem and he was hanging out with the homies, like they must have busted his balls so hard.
Oh, dude, he comes through, right? Kicks the door open, cigars for everyone. I'm having a baby!
Bro, imagine if I came back and it was like Courtney just had a baby. I'm like, I don't even know how it happened.
Right.
We haven't even done it yet. And I come back, I'm like, dude, we're sitting there. She gives birth, and then these three fucking dudes come in with gifts.
Start showering her with presents.
I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
I'd be so mad.
There's a lot going on here that I feel like no one is explaining to me, and as apparently the dad, I feel like I deserve some answers.
How long do you think the wise men like lingered around before it got awkward?
I mean, honestly, it feels like a drop and go kind of thing, right? Like, she's laying in the manger. She's just given birth, which, like, if you've been through that experience or if you've been with someone who's gone through that experience, you know there's not, like, social time after.
The dude who brought the myrrh killed the vibes. They're all like, sick, dude. Sick gift.
Hey, you know myrrh went last, too, right? Like, oh, frankincense, gold. That's so cool. I brought myrrh. All right, man. I think we're going to try to get some sleep here. I think, Mary's had a long day. We're going to rest a little bit.
I would love more stories about the wise men and then even leaving and being like, that was awkward, right?
Or like, what did they do after? Like after, so they did their journey. They showed up. They gave the gifts, shook hands, rode a llama, whatever, and then they took off. Did they go their separate ways?
I thought you said it was a $25 limit since the guy who brought the myrrh. Just pissed.
You brought fucking gold, man.
Yo, funny prank idea is to just go into a hospital with your boys, bring gifts.
Start 3 wise menning all the recent mothers.
Yeah, go into the ward where all the kids are just born.
You're going to give someone a complex. First of all, you're going to mess with every dad that you walk through. And there's also going to be at least a couple moms that are like, is my son the new Jesus?
Yo, there's also going to be like a few people that are in there that it's like they don't know the baby daddy.
Yeah.
Through it.
That's right. All of a sudden, you just wrote the New Testament because you and your boys were bored on a Friday.
It's a great prank.
That's not a great prank.
Fantastic.
To be very clear, you could devastate someone's whole life with that
You
prank.
just go in, hang out for a little bit.
I also feel like it's not that easy to get into where they keep the newborn babies and mothers.
If you show up with gifts, nobody's going to stop you.
I feel like you got to stop at the desk and they're going to ask for a name. You can't just be like, yeah, we're here to see a mom. We have gifts for a mom.
I'm here to see my sister.
She's in room 4.
Just drop Mary. It's such a common name. There's bound to be a Mary in there.
Well, what is it? We just talked about this on the show the other day. The most popular names in the last 15 years. An Olivia.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be some pregnant Olivias at any given time based on how often the name gets used in this province.
Yeah.
Just go to the hospital. Why am I encouraging this? No, I'm against this idea. Why am I suddenly helping you plot it out?
It's such a great idea, man.
I love that that's a big thing for you, is just coming up with ideas to prank people.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you don't actually prank people very often. You would have made a great writer for Punk'd, but not the star of the show.
Yeah, I feel like my pranking days have kind of dwindled down. One that I still get my buddy Gerald with all the time. We've had a war since we were 12 years old. Is the oh, what's this on the shirt thing?
And then you flip up the nose.
That's still a classic.
You still get your buddy Gerald, who is how old?
Same age as me, 29.
29 years old, with the same prank you get my 8-year-old son with.
He still gets me, man. And if it's a night of drinking, it's my whole goal is I'm gonna get you back.
He gets you with the flip up thing?
Ooh, one of the greatest pranks, and I totally saw this online somewhere. We were at my buddy John's place a couple years ago, and we got our buddy Connor on this, and we were like, hey, here's 2 glasses of water. What was it? It's if you dump... Oh, I'm blanking on it now. It was something about dumping the first water on your head.
Okay.
If you dump 2 things of water on your head, we'll give you $100.
Okay.
So we gave him 2 cups. Or we gave him 1 cup, and he dumped it on his head, and then we poured out the other glass
so
of
that
water.
He couldn't do it?
That's what it is.
Oh.
We gave him 2 cups of water.
That sucks.
And we were if you dump both of these on your head, we'll give you $100. We gave him the first cup, he dumped it on his head. The second cup we poured out. He was standing there soaked, and he's like, wait, what?
What the fuck?
All of us were just dying. It's a great prank to pull on someone.
I will admit, that's very good.
It's
Because
good.
that one's harmless, right? Depending on where you do it.
Yeah.
If you're in your house and you've got towels or a change of clothes, that's just a funny prank. If you're out at an ice fishing shack, maybe not so much, but it's still a good bit.
Yeah. It's fantastic because then the whole night he's like, give me my $100. And you're like, dude, you never poured the second glass of water.
Why would you get... Maybe you could make an argument for 50, but definitely not the full 100. Come on.
Speaking of water, I keep seeing these memes of it's Jesus sitting beside a bottle of water and he's like, not right now. It's too early.
It's 9 a.m.
That's one of my favorite things I've been seeing. That and what's made me chuckle is that put the fries in the bag thing.
Dude, have you seen... So,
Which for anyone that doesn't know, the put the fries in the bag, it's kind of like a chirp of hey, shut up.
You're a minimum wage. You're not important. Just get back to work sort of thing. Twitter, X, whatever, has their AI. I think it's called Grok or something like that. They've recently made it free for everybody, and it has pretty actually impressive image creation abilities. And somebody made pictures of all the current super famous WWE wrestlers, but dressed as McDonald's workers.
Oh, okay.
They would just start spamming these wrestlers with pictures of them as McDonald's workers, and it was all just put the fries in the bag, bro. Put the fries in the bag, bro. And I was like, man, AI is going to make someone fucking lose their shit.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with working at McDonald's or whatever.
Of course not.
I do like it. It's a great chirp. You can use it against anyone. I was even thinking, if someone said to me, just play the song, bro.
Oh, we've got that before.
That stings.
There really is no comeback to that. When someone texts in and we're talking or whatever, that's the nice thing about the podcast is if you're listening to this, there's a good chance you care about what we have to say or you're just interested in us talking. But on the radio, there are some people who would be super happy if we were not here. And when they go shut up and play the song, there's not really anything you can do.
You could do that for every kind of job, honestly, parking enforcement. Just give me the ticket, dude.
Just give me the ticket, man.
Use that for cops too.
I'm not here for the speech. We're not friends. Just
Have
give me
another
the ticket.
donut.
Jesus. I feel like that's a good way to find yourself with some extra tickets. Or maybe, what if I didn't have my car for the next 24 hours?
Yeah. You could use stuff like that for everything.
Just mop the floor, man.
Just mop the floor. That's pretty good. Change another diaper.
Just bring the myrrh, bro. Okay. Man, I'm thinking about pranks though. You know what I miss, and I never really liked it, but I do miss playing it. Was the ice game.
the ice game.
With Smirnoff Ice, where like you'd hide Smirnoff Ice?
I still do that all the time.
Do you?
I still do that when people come to the house.
I need you to understand that I'm not asking you for us to start playing, because I get a little bit too wrapped up in it, but I used to love like booby trapping my own home before a party.
What I'll do is anytime we're having someone over for dinner, I'll always put one on top of the plates, and then as soon as like the food's ready, I'll be like, "Hey, grab your plates right there." First one there's got an ice. I'll put it in people's shoes, so when they're going for like a smoke or whatever, they gotta grab one.
Yeah. I remember the best one I ever saw was we were having a party at my house. This is years ago when we were living in like northern BC, and I was just starting in radio, and I had a bunch of friends and coworkers over, and there was this one guy who's notorious for being like the last guy to the party. He ran on his own time clock kind of thing. Yeah. And so everybody else was there, and we all made an agreement that no one was going to use the bathroom for the night, but we would go in there every now and again to make it look like we were using the bathroom. But again, do not use the bathroom. And we put a room temperature Smirnoff Ice bottle in the toilet.
Nice.
Sitting up in the toilet. So that when that guy got there, and eventually we all started like feeding him drinks, making sure that the seal needed to be broken, and he had to go into the bathroom, and he found the ice, and everybody's like, "You have to chug it before you use the bathroom." So now this man is just like, his bladder is bursting.
Dude, that could have went terrible if you really had to drop a number 2, and you know those moments where you just go in, pants are already down?
Well, I mean, to be fair, he was in his mid to late 20s. He's probably about time for a prostate exam,
Rules
right?
are the rules. You still got to drink it.
Can you rinse it off? Do you let him like run it under the tap for a little
Smearing
bit?
off shice. Yeah. We actually, and you know what? We have a plan. I know we're pretending like it's Christmas right now, but so Courtney in the mail, literally yesterday, she got a ring in the mail. We're so confused where it came from. It's some shitty fake ring.
Okay.
She did fuck up and sign up for something that ended up being a scam, so we're thinking maybe it
came from them.
She actually tripped. She opened it up yesterday and she was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna be sick." And I was like,
Why?
"What?" And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, "What?" And then I came over and I'm like, "Oh, I'm not proposing to you."
She thought you ordered an engagement ring in the mail, and she had accidentally intercepted it and ruined the surprise.
She was tripping. I was sitting on the couch and I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Just go look." And I'm like, "Just bring it over." She's like, "I can't. I'm gonna throw up."
What the fuck?
And I'm like, also like, I hope that you would think I'd buy you something a little like you could snap the band on this
so
thing.
bad.
It's so bad. But we were talking yesterday because this weekend we're gonna have some people over just for like a little dinner and stuff.
I haven't gotten an invite, but that's cool.
That's okay. That's okay.
You're so much better at the guilt trip jokes than I am. Now I'm hurt.
But so we're having some people over, and we were like, "Shit, we should do something with this ring." And Courtney's like, "Oh, you should pretend to propose to me in front of them."
Oh, especially this time of year. Like, it's an easy sell.
So what we were thinking is when we have them over, what we're going to do is like, I'll pause the movie, music, game, whatever's on TV.
Yeah.
And then I'll just turn and be like, "Hey, just want to thank you guys for being here, da-da-da-da-da." Get down on one knee, and what Courtney's going to do is she's going to go, and just walk away.
Oh.
And then I'll be like, 1 second.
Yeah.
And the plan is to like come back downstairs, be kind of like arguing, make it awkward for everyone.
Snipping at each other.
And then just ice them. We literally thought about this last night.
Okay. When is this dinner?
It's tomorrow.
Okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to send me a voice note when it happens, and we'll put it into the podcast right here.
I do want to say thank you guys for coming over tonight.
Hell yeah, dude.
You guys mean the world to us. Your friendship means a lot to us. Merry Christmas.
Same.
And I don't really know how to do this, but
Is this happening right now?
no? Was it the wrong time?
What? Okay. She's
just say yes. And if it's a no, tell me afterwards.
You good?
I don't know, man. Just kidding. We had that whole plan. I'm just kidding.
You and her had a fucking plan?
I was like, Kyle, give them privacy. Unmute the TV so they can...
Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm sorry.
I didn't want to.
It was your idea.
Last night, and now it's like I can't go through with it. I was like, no.
I fucking hate you.
I'm so sorry.
I got scammed online, and they sent me a ring.
Dude, I'm sorry. Are you mad at me?
You know what he said to me? He looks at me, he goes,
Don't be mad
if you ever want to say no, just say yes, and then you can say no later.
Also, a good time to follow us on Instagram, if not anywhere else, at Brock and Dalby.
Follow your boy on TikTok. I've been snapping on the talks.
Kind of blowing up a little bit. You know what's funny about it, though? This is like the third time you've blown up on TikTok. And each time previously, you've just decided, I don't want to do this anymore.
I feel cringe, and then it's like one of my friends will say something to me and be like, oh, Mr. TikTok. And I'm like, I know. I feel lame doing it, but it's dope. I had a couple videos like get 1 million views.
Well, I mean, I get why you feel like it's
Brock
cringe.
on air if you want to follow.
I get you why you feel like it's cringe or it's lame. Like, it is weird as your friend and coworker to see you doing all those weird, like, hip-shaking TikTok dances, but you're getting views.
Stop.
So, well, I mean, listen, if you want to shake ass on the internet, that's your business, and it's working, so...
There's a market for everything. I will say the worst part about, like, I'm, like, dialed in on the talk now. Mm-hmm. I could feel cringe just saying that.
That's you. I mean, you're using words that are a choice, that's for sure.
But it's, like, it's this weird thing of, like, you post something, and then you're like, did anybody like it?
Yeah.
Do people like me? Do they think I'm funny?
That's the thing, because it's so easy to look at, like, influencers and people who make content for a living and just be like, what a fucking cringe way to live. But you do not understand the anxiety of putting yourself and your creativity into a project, whether it's TikToks, Instagram Reels, or a radio show or a song, and then waiting for people to give you that validation of, like, pat on the head, you did good.
Dude, the best part is, though, is, like, you know, getting a ton of likes and views on these videos.
Sure.
So people have been doing, what do you call it? Like those Stitch things where it'll play like a second of my video, then
and
they
then
give
they
their
jump
2
in?
cents.
Yeah.
So I did one on, like, complaining about people and their scratch tickets and stuff or whatever.
Oh,
if you
yeah.
go to Brock on air, you can see it on my TikTok.
Basically how you should have a limit of scratch tickets you can check before you have to go to the fucking back of the line.
And there's, like, this one guy. I'm not going to play it. That's mean. But there's, like, this one guy, and he's like, maybe just go to another gas station. And I was like, fuck this guy. And so I clicked his profile. This guy posts like 5 TikToks every single day.
Yeah.
And then they get like 100 views. And I'm not talking shit. I'm just saying, like, it's crazy when you go through. I click people's accounts all the time.
The work people put in.
People are just posting everything on there,
Yeah.
like their feelings, their emotions, their kids, whatever, and then it's like it's getting no views, but it's just crazy that everything is out there.
Yeah, man.
You know?
I think that's the thing is, like, we're approaching this sort of level of openness that maybe we could stand to be a little bit more secretive from each other.
Well, then, like, you go through some people's pages and you're like, wow. But then I wonder, I'm like, is there anyone from high school that comes across my page and they're like, what a fucking loser?
That's just it, right? Like, I think about all the videos we make of, like, stuff we talk about in the show, and, like, here we are, episode 200 of a podcast where we have both almost certainly said things that even we would go back now and be like, oh, why would we say that?
I will suggest look up some of the people from high school that you disdain. They probably got a TikTok or something.
You know what? Not even necessarily the people you disdain. The people you used to look up to. The people who you were like, oh, man, Timmy was so cool. I wish I was more like him. I bet you Timmy does like weird fucking fishing videos on TikTok now, and you're just like, oh, never mind, I'm good.
Yeah. You can go down a weird rabbit hole, man. It's
Timmy
beautiful.
is still working at the Ford dealership back home, and it's not going well.
If you've got no holiday plans, get on Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is. Go down memory lane. 9 times out of 10, it'll make you feel pretty good.
That's true.
Until you come across like the one dude who's doing like super well.
Who's just killing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, fuck, man. I should have gotten in on that pyramid scheme.
We should look that up. Maybe that could be content for a future podcast or radio show of like, who's the most successful person from Milton and the most successful person from Hay River, and see how we stack up.
Sure.
It might be really entertaining, or it might be really depressing.
I'm always curious about like the drug dealers and like what they're up to now.
Oh, yeah. That guy who used to grab $20 gram bags from under his kitchen sink for me. I wonder what he's up to now.
I remember there was this dude that like I was grabbing weed off of because it was like my sister's friend.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to be this really good baseball player. I won't say his name, but he was like scouted to go to NCAA schools.
Juan Soto.
Yeah. He had offers to go play like single A, double A baseball at the end of high school.
Yeah.
And then I just remember he like messed up his arm or something and then just started selling drugs hardcore.
Damn.
And then I remember being in college and I was watching like CP24 with my dad.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I saw his name come at the bottom because he got arrested. And I'm like,
shit.
I wonder where he is. I wonder, is he in jail? Like, is he out there? Like,
That's always a weird feeling when you see someone's like name or face on the news and you're like, I know that person.
is that like the we made it moment as a drug dealer when you get caught though?
I don't think so. I think it's the opposite. I think being a drug dealer is a lot like being a professional sports referee. If they don't know your name, you're doing your job.
Nobody gets out clean, right? There's very rarely ever the story of someone who's like, I made it, I got out. Like,
I mean, listen, Heisenberg gets shot. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it doesn't end well if they find out who you are.
yeah, you either live long enough to die or you go to jail. Is that it?
That's drug life, brother. Fuck, this is episode 200, man.
Oh, is
and
it?
I mean, yeah, and we're wrapping up here because we're well over the 30-minute mark that we try to stick to, but it's pretty crazy that we have people who tell us that they listen to every single one of these episodes.
Yeah, shout out to anyone who listens on the daily. If this is your first time, welcome. 200, man. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, long ways to go, obviously, to hit some of the numbers of people out there, but we appreciate everything that you guys do. Again, we will ask that if you haven't done so before, leave the podcast a 5-star review. But if you're on a platform that allows you to leave a comment with your review, make sure it sounds like you hate the show.
Yeah.
Because that's just really funny to us.
5-star, 1-star review, though.
Yeah. Keep it at 5 stars so that we keep that, the corporate people think we're doing well, but talk some shit.
Got some more little special podcasts throughout the holidays here.
Yes,
and then,
put together some best of this, best of that from the show. So if you're new to us, this is going to be a lot of stuff that maybe you haven't heard before, of like our Text Us Tuesday questions or our the episodes of the quiz, which, tell you right now, going back and listening to all of my repeat failures was a treat.
People always ask for songs. Maybe put one of some songs in there or something.
Oh, absolutely, putting together a best of Brock Sings, as I label them.
The discography, if you will.
The boxed set.
Yeah, that's it.
That one, though, you have to promise, when we put out the episode that is just the best of Brock's parody songs, you have to sit down with a glass of wine by a lit fireplace when you listen to it. That's how it's meant to be enjoyed.
All right, well, we're going to get out of here. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, whatever the hell you're celebrating. Hope you have a happy new year. We will be back on January 6th to storm the radio station.
The most momentous January 6th of all time.
Yeah. That's going to do it for us. You know what? I might storm the Capitol if Tim Hortons doesn't figure out how to toast their bagels properly, but that's just me.
That actually might have been the one thing that would have got you off if you were one of those people. They would have been like, no, we understand. Go on your way.
All right. We hope you have a great holidays and keep it sexy, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
For more Brock and Dalby, tune in weekday mornings 5:30 to 9.
The Brock and Dalby podcast is brought to you by BadShop.ca, the Brock and Dalby merch store, with all proceeds going to the Canadian Cancer Society.